Good morning, Grace. Trust that you're all having a beautiful day. It's a beautiful morning. It's getting a little bit cooler in the mornings, which is really great. So, today I'd like to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects of all time, and that's fishing. I love to fish. I've lived in beautiful places where I grew up in San Diego, where deep sea fishing was what my dad and I used to do. And I went to Denver, and there we did a lot of stream fishing and fly fishing. Of course, in Minnesota, it was lake fishing, fishing for those wonderful walleye, and then back in here in Arizona, the lake fishing. I just love fishing. When I was a little boy, we had a small boat, a 14-foot glass boat with an outboard motor. And my dad, we would ski in the summer, water ski in the summer, and then my dad would go fishing in the winter and the fall. And when I was a little boy, I was too small to go, but he said, "When you're old enough, I will take you." On my 8th birthday, he came in and woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning, and he said, "Son, you're old enough." And so we went fishing. And we were trolling out in the ocean, and I was holding the pole and very anxious and hoping to catch something. And just as I took a bite of my sandwich, the reel went bzzz, that amazing sound, the thing that every fisherman loves to hear. And I hooked up, and my dad said, "Wait, wait, wait." And finally, he said, "Okay, set the hook." And so I flipped the bail, set the hook, and I was struggling with that fish, struggling. I said, "Daddy, I can't do it. It's too much. It's too hard." My dad said, "I'm not going to help you. You're going to do this on your own." So finally, I brought the fish in. It was a large barracuda, taller than me, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I have been hooked on fishing ever since. So there's a passage in the Bible, in the book of James, that really alludes to this idea of fishing. Let me read for you just a portion from James chapter 1, verses 14 and 15. Here's what it says. "Temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us and drag us away." That word entice literally is the word bait. "These desires give birth to sinful actions, and when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death." So what the writer here is saying, what James is saying, is that bait really matters when it comes to fishing. So when I go fishing, if you're in Minnesota and you're fishing for walleye, you use leeches and you jig from the bottom, right? Here, you use worms for bass, you use different kinds of lures for trout, deep sea fishing, all kinds of lures were used. And that word lure is exactly what it means: to lure you away from the real thing. What James is saying here is that too often we misinterpret bait for the real thing. Bait is not food. Bait looks like food, sometimes smells like food, behaves like food, but bait is not food. It's a substitute. It's a phony. It's a fake. And so when you take the bait, you think it's food. You think it's something that will fill you. You think it's something that will satisfy your needs. You think it's something that will make you feel good, but it really is just bait, and it never satisfies. I mean, a fish that bites onto a lure, when he hits that, he thinks it's food and it's going to be delicious and wonderful. And what he discovers is, bait has a gotcha. Bait has a hook. Bait will lead to death. So when you were trying to discover, this is what we talked about in our sermon last Sunday, right? When you're trying to decide what it is that satisfies your soul, do not settle for something that is just bait, that will entice, that will lure you away from the real thing. Jesus said, "I am the bread of life." If you want real bread, it's Jesus. Anything else is bait. Anything else is fake. Anything else is just enticing you away from a relationship with Jesus. Now, there's something else about bait that's really important here, and that is this. There are different kinds of bait. In fact, the enemy, and this is what this passage in James is talking about, the enemy is trying to entice you or drag you away from a personal relationship with Jesus. He's trying to move you away from that which will really satisfy, which is Jesus. And that bait The enemy knows what your particular designer bait is. Uh, Bass are not going to bite on a salmon egg, and walleye are not going to bite on a worm. There is a designer bait for each and every one of us. There's something that the enemy knows will drag us away. For me, it was gambling. For you, it might be something else. But we have to always be aware, because the enemy is going to dangle in front of our nose that designer bait, that thing that smells like real food, looks like real food. It's the kind of thing that I really believe is the best thing for me, and I'm going to latch onto it. I'm going to glom onto it. I'm going to savor it and enjoy it. But then we realize there is a hook in it, and we are set, and we are baited into doing and believing something that is just not true. There is always a gotcha to bait, always a gotcha to sin. And this is what the writer of the book of James himself says. He says this: these desires, these baits, give birth to sinful actions. And when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death. So here's my word for you today. I love fishing. I love going fishing. But make sure when you are fishing for something that will satisfy you, that you take the real thing, the real food, the real measure, Jesus Christ, and do not settle for something that is just bait, because bait always has a gotcha. Hey, I hope you have a great day. Look forward to this weekend, and trust that each and every one of you just experiences God's beauty and grace today. Thank you and bless you. We'll see you soon.